What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, we already have Willow in front of the camera, but welcome back to Tropics Talk Live with Weather Center Nazario. Let me get this camera panned over a little bit. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologize. I just realized I did not schedule this stream like I usually do. Today has been a rigmarole of all sorts of different things going on. Been flying everywhere, trying to handle business and also get my video out, etc., etc. So yeah, here we are. We're here. It was definitely going to happen regardless. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all. Let's give it a little bit. We'll let some folks join in, especially since I didn't have this stream scheduled. We'll give it about 5 more minutes and see if people can join in. We'll start talking tropics because we have a new area on National Hurricane Center's website. Everyone's probably going to start hyping up, even though it's not Friday. We're not going to hit it here. But now that National Hurricane Center has an area to pick up on, everyone's going to start mentioning how, oh yeah, I called it. We called it, and it's like, sure, we'll roll with that. Linda, good evening. Odell's Legacy, good evening. Miss watching from Southeast Florida. I don't know why I got fixated on your comment. I thought there was more to it than that. Zenful, good evening. Bottom Boy, yo, what's going on, everybody? So yeah, we're looking at a wide shot of infrared right now because there's a lot of various areas that we need to pay close attention to as we go forward in time. And truthfully, I'll be honest, slowly but surely, I don't know if it's because I've been talking about it as long as I have, but I really need to start seeing some differences in what our models are indicating out in this general area, because I'm seeing a mishmash of things now. Some of our ensembles some of our models are trying to take Lydia here, believe it or not, and make it the storm that comes across Mexico into Texas and kind of stays over land as a frontal system. A lot of our models have kind of taken away from it being anything that forms down here, which is very interesting. What we'll do is, what I've been doing as well is investigating what our high-res HAFS models, our HWRF models, our HMON model does with Lydia, because they go out about 100-some-odd hours, and they'll give us a good idea of what our high-resolution models are thinking is going to happen, because I'm noticing GFS and I think even Euro as well as the UK model are trying to pull Lydia back across Central America, or I should say Mexico, the southern tip of Baja California. And if that's what happens, then I do think we're going to see more of a frontal system. I think we're going to see more of either a subtropical system or a non-tropical system, truthfully. So we'll have to see. We'll definitely have to pay close attention to it. It's still worth watching. I'm a little disappointed, once again, that National Hurricane Center highlighted something that's well on the horizon for the main development region, as opposed to anything out in this area. We've had a lot more consistency developing over the Gulf and even in the Caribbean off and on. And so to see a little blip out there in the East Atlantic, that's a little discouraging. But you know what? We'll wait and see. For those of you who are tuning in, here you go. This is our latest 7-day product for National Hurricane Center. And the tropical wave, once again, hasn't even made itself off of Africa yet. It's still over Africa right now. 20% chance of development over the next 7 days, and it's expected to track off in one of these two directions. It'll swoop up like this, or, God forbid, it goes off this way. Some of our weaker ensemble products indicate it going off to the west-northwest, which is very believable. GFS is extremely wishy-washy, and it's starting to get a little frustrating, I'm not going to lie. Let's see, who else has joined in? What's up, brother? How are you? Matthew, good to see you in here. Matthew F150, I appreciate you joining in. Robert, hello from Jupiter. Hello from Polk County. Neighbors, good to see everybody coming in. Hello, how are you doing? Ramesh, good to see you. I'm doing really well. I'm very exhausted. I've been in and out of random little power naps all day. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm deficient on vitamins or something like that. I don't know if Carmen's going to pop in anytime soon, but I made sure to bring my water bottle again because I know how much she likes when I hydrate. Wilhelm, I saw your comment earlier, buddy. Forgive me if I haven't responded to it yet. I noticed that you were feeling under the weather and you're just wanting to hear more about what's going on out there. Well, we're here now, okay? We're definitely here now, which is pretty exciting. I've been looking forward to this. Definitely looking forward to this. Real quick, before we get any further into the stream, I have a very important announcement to make, and it's nothing pertaining to the weather. I've had a couple of folks message me and reach out on social media, and I have a Thomas who sends his love and is always looking out for his mother Christine over in, let me read the comment, forgive me. She's out in Palm Bay, Florida. So, Christine, if you're watching, if you're tuning in, your son Thomas, all the way from the United Kingdom, a diligent viewer of Weather Center Nazaria. I appreciate both of you guys. We're giving a shout out tonight. So if any of you guys in the chat also would like a shout out as well, feel free to reach out to me on social media at any point in time. Very happy to do so. Once again, Christine, all the way out in Palm Bay, Florida, you have your son Thomas in the United Kingdom saying he's watching over you, he wishes you the best, and he's sending lots of love. And he contacted me specifically to give that shout out, and I'm more than humbly proud to do that for him. Definitely very welcoming into doing things like that. Let's see here. Florida Man 2.0 finally got pool gate replaced. Heck yeah, that's good stuff. Griffin, GFS, I agree. GFS is being GFS. We got to come up with a cunning acronym for GFS. I know it's Global Forecast System, but we got to get something together with it, make it something funny. I hope all these cold fronts don't stir anything up. Leo, we're going to have to see. We're going to have to wait and see. It looks like it's possible. Regardless of what actually does form, we're definitely going to have bad weather out there in the Gulf of Mexico. It's going to be rough weather regardless. Now, I've been very hesitant in trying to determine if it's going to be tropical or not. You know, even though we have such a small margin of error right in through here, like in comparison to what we've dealt with the rest of the hurricane season, where we've had, you know, our Cabo Verde systems to where they could go up like this and come all the way across with such an enormous margin of error right in through here. Even though we have such a smaller region out there in just the western and southern Gulf of Mexico, it's still very difficult to forecast what's really going to happen. And I'm noticing a lot of the time that no one is really mentioning, and I know I've been saying that, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I'm noticing a lot of folks who are now because we're getting some momentum. There's people out there starting to talk about it. They're highlighting it. And the thing that's a little discouraging for me is no one's raising the attention as to why we're watching it and why it's of any major concern. Because first glance, and a lot of the models don't really show much, it just shows an area of low pressure and rain. And at first glance, it doesn't seem like anything's really going on. And that's why I've been trying to dabble into the science and do a lot of homework behind the scenes to determine what sort of a threat we could be looking at, what sort of variety of weather we could be seeing. Because some models off and on want to take it through like an El Nino southeastern system to where all of us are going to get some bad weather, higher winds, maybe some embedded severe weather with it. And then other models want to take it and make it into another Bay of Campeche storm and actually consolidate it into a tropical cyclone. So, I don't know. We'll see. It's definitely still up in the air. We have at least another 5 to 7 days before we see something develop out there. So, I mean, you know, it's anybody's best guess right now. Need consistent sleep? I do. I wish I could get consistent sleep. Trust me. That's also... my sleep schedule is basically like the GFS. Let's just put it that way. Let's see here. Gabriel, what's going on, homie? Good to see you in here. Woo! Everybody embracing their inner Ric Flair. Goofy forecasting system. Yeah, goofy forecast system. I like that. Polk County, we're neighbors almost. Yeah, we're pretty close. Miss Leah saying hi to Zenful. A couple of regulars in the chat. I appreciate it. I think anything that forms in the Gulf, Florida is the big target. It really is. I mean, it's not, you know, I see the comment below. Mike, I'm not sure if you're directing that towards me as if I'm scaring everybody. I'm really not trying to do that at all, and that's why I want to emphasize the science behind what I'm trying to communicate here. Yeah, I mean, you look at the pattern, and even right here, you can kind of make a case for anything that comes out of the Caribbean or out of the Gulf is going straight in. Like anywhere between this general area is a bullseye. There's no way it's going to go north. There's no way it's going to go south. There's no way it's going to go into Mexico. There was a tropical storm, Carl, who formed last year. I was watching, very similar setup. Remnants wandered right over Central America through Guatemala, Nicaragua, and then southern Mexico, formed up in the Bay of Campeche. He kind of dawdled around and then went right back into Mexico. That's not going to happen here because we have a trough that's expected to deepen down over the Pacific, scrape across the southern tier United States with another trough axis digging in, kind of like what this one's doing. And it's just going to essentially, I'll switch the ink so you get an idea, it's essentially just going to knock everything off this way. Some of the earlier ensembles were even indicating that it could miss Florida altogether and go off like this towards the Bahamas. That's how sharp of an east turn it's expected to make. So we'll see what happens. It's nice to finally see people are talking about it, because regardless if we get a named storm or anything like that, we're definitely going to have some pretty bad weather down there. Any of that tropical energy from the Pacific that comes out and moves across Mexico, Central America, into the Gulf Coast or Florida, we're definitely going to see some rain and some high winds with it. Down in Central America, because of all those thunderstorms you can see on the satellite even this evening, they've had numerous deaths, unfortunately, because of flash floods and washouts brought on by consistent daytime thunderstorms. No one's talking about that either, unfortunately, and that's a really clear indication that our gyre activity is amping up. The Korean model seems to be the only consistent one. Linda, good evening. Dion, hi from Collier County. Dion, good to see you. Robert, I agree, and I know I'm probably going to get a lot of flack by some people, or there's probably some people throwing shade behind the scenes, but the Korean model has been doing very good in terms of run-to-run consistency. It has not deviated at all in the last few days, not couple of days, not, this many days. It's been predicting something out there for, I believe, the last 4 to maybe even 5 or 6 days, and it has not changed its depiction at all. It's been showing very good run-to-run consistency, not only in terms of track, but development area. In terms of intensity, it's been very good, so I'm definitely watching that, and it's been in fairly good alignment with the Euro and the Icon have been showing, so I don't know. NHC, 8 p.m. Mark, new tropical wave, 20%. Yep, exactly. That's what I was talking about in the very beginning of the stream. I'm a little, displeased once again with National Hurricane Center highlighting something that's further out in time than what's going on in the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, they're the subject matter experts. I'm not an official source. I'll definitely say that right now and then. I know I can look at the science and try to add a little bit of experience and expertise to it, but at the end of the day, they're the subject matter experts. They're trained day in and day out to scrutinize stuff that all of us are also looking at, and they know better, so maybe we'll see something towards the very end of the week. It's already hump day. It's Wednesday. I can't believe it. We're already into October 4th. Time is just flying by. So we'll see. We'll go over some ensembles here in a moment, and we'll talk probabilities, because the Euro is still steadily building up its probabilities, too. That's one thing that I'm definitely keeping an eye on, almost more than the ensembles at this point. Let's see, before I lose track of the chat, I'm seeing people pop in now. I think I see Ethan. I haven't even looked at usernames. I just see Acid with an... Yep, it's Ethan. There he is. Thomas, evening from Panama City. Thomas, welcome in. Zenville, Hillsborough County here. I used to work out in Hillsborough County. Used to work out there. That's a small world. Look at that. Not too long ago either. That was a few months ago. Let's see. Ethan's life. What do you call an acid with an attitude? Supercharas, what's going on? I see your hello in there. Mid to late October looks messy. Wet weather, much needed rain coming. Yeah, absolutely. I noticed that CPC, which we'll also get into, has really amped up the chance of seeing above average precipitation. Models already showing heavy rain in Fort Myers area going to the end of next week. Yep, we're definitely going to be seeing that for sure. Aurelia just checking in from SVG. Good to see you. Thanks for popping in. Will there be a Caribbean storm? We'll take a look at that, because over the last 12 hours since last night, all of a sudden GFS and Euro were trying to predict that there could be some very weak formation out in the Caribbean, which was very interesting because none of our other models have been highlighting it. Let's see here. Hopefully Virginia, I just lost it. Hopefully Virginia can get in on some of the action. We're within the 10-day window where speculation becomes forecasting for the Bay of Campeche storm. Exactly, I agree. Robert, how strong could it potentially get? Alfalfa, great question. I've been seeing some folks mentioning on social media that they're getting a little concerned, and even though we've been talking about it and emphasizing it so much, there is no conclusive data or evidence at this point to suggest that at the max, like the cap for this storm that everyone, or the ceiling that a lot of people like to say, could be maybe a high-end tropical storm or a very, very, and I'm saying that, I'm kind of grinning and bearing at the same time, very low-end hurricane, because we have such potent dynamics out there, and even right now you can see with our first trough building in out of the northwest and our ridge, all that jet energy flowing across the southern plains, you can see how much wind shear is out there. So in all actuality, we're not going to have the most amazing environment for this storm to get going. I've also been noticing on sea surface temps that we're starting to see the cooling trend taking place right along the Panhandle, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana coastline, because of the frontal systems that have been coming down, that polar air is finally modifying some of the water temps up there. So it's cooling off in that general area too. So even if we do get something, it's not going to be like Idalia where we see strengthening from here up until landfall. So if anything, it's going to have to get its act going down through here, and right about until where my arrow ends there is where it's going to have its maximum opportunity to execute any kind of strengthening before pummeling through somewhere in Florida. Don't worry about the haters, Naz. You're at the top of the game. Miss Leah, I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. We don't need another system in Florida. I agree, although I'll admit there's a part of me who does. There's a part of me who does. You know, just to give us something to talk about and give us something to highlight and to give us Florida locals in here a good reason to go storm chasing. And thanks, great channel, bro, from Puerto Rico. Edwin, excellent. I appreciate that. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. I have a lot of family out there in Puerto Rico. I've been watching over. Some folks were hyping up Philippe, and, you know, there's still some really good thunderstorm activity out there, but nothing really severe, thank God. You could see that Philippe just looks disgusting. I'm going to use that terminology again and again and again because it looks like this whole thing right here has become the storm. And just as I mentioned, I think 2 videos ago, because of how raggedy and just disheveled he looks and pulled apart like an accordion, it's slowly been steadily weakening. It's down to 40 miles an hour now, barely holding on by the skin of its teeth. Anto is in the chat, my favorite forecaster. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, madam, for tuning in this evening. I really appreciate you. Let's see, what else? An amino acid. Amino acids are actually great for protein synthesis and muscle repair after a strenuous workout, folks. That's strength coach Nazario talking some lingo right there. Boston, watching from Fort Myers. Glad you're tuning in. I posted something on my Instagram earlier. The Korean models like trying to bullseye somewhere between Fort Myers and the Tampa-St. Pete area. We had a 991 tropical storm, according to that model at 12Z today, working its way into that area. I'm late. Anything exciting pop up on the models overnight? Nothing too exciting. No, we're still just seeing the agreement. Still seeing some probabilities going up. One of the first things we're going to go to here in a second is going to be the probabilistic charts. A lot of viewers from Florida, yes, and I'm very thankful for that. Only you notice everything going on in the tropics, and none of the other meteorologists are pinpointing this low pressure moving into the Gulf. Now, Pierre, I do appreciate that. I thank you. We've been talking about this for what feels like ever in a day now. There are some people starting to get involved. There are some folks highlighting the potential. Although now that National Hurricane Center has highlighted that area in the Atlantic, I know for certain a large majority of us folks are going to fixate on that and start talking more about that because National Hurricane Center is highlighting it. But I refuse to pull my attention from the Gulf. The Gulf, I mean, yeah, we had Philippe. Philippe was number 1 because of his imminent impacts, but the Gulf is definitely an area I want to pay very close attention to because Central America is already getting just destroyed by rain. No one's focusing on them, and I think the death toll is approaching 25, if not 30 individuals down there in Nicaragua, Guatemala because of all the torrential flooding they've had going on. So they've had tremendous thunderstorm activity going on, and if that tropical energy decides to swoop over like a lot of our models are indicating, it's going to be a bad scenario for them, and then whatever happens in the Gulf is going to be a bad scenario for the Yucatan, Florida, the Gulf Coast, so we're just going to have to watch. That's why this is if I had to bullseye this would be, Philippe is definitely dropping on my pedestal. Philippe, I would say, is now numero 3 on my list of priorities. This is number 1. This entire area is priority number 1 because look at how much land we have in here, and that's the main reason. Philippe is now priority number 3, and believe it or not, this is priority number 2 because of all this energy that keeps trying to push its way towards the Lesser Antilles. And hear me out, the reason why the Antilles and the Caribbean are my number 2 priority in terms of where I'm forecasting or putting the most aggressive efforts into is because, number 1, Bermuda is no stranger to bad weather. They're pretty heavily fortified up there. They're going to be fine when this rolls through. It's going to be a very enhanced, phenomena because of the cold pocket just off to the left here, off the southeast coastline. And Philippe, they're still going to see impacts. They're still going to see some torrential rain, some elevated tropical storm-like gusts, and so on and so forth. But, like we had Lee go through. They've seen their fair share of major hurricanes. Like, this is nothing new for them. So I'm not really, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk impacts and whatnot. But are you guys picking up what I'm putting down? I'm not saying I'm dismissing them. It's just in terms of where we could see the greatest impacts, that's where I really want to pay a lot of my energy to. And because of what's happening down in this general area already and what could happen across this whole neck of the woods, depending on where that system tracks, that's why that's getting a lot of my brain power, because there's easily hundreds of thousands of people that could see very heavy rain, localized flooding, high winds. If it does turn into an El Nino type system as opposed to a tropical system, that's definitely going to increase tornado probabilities. We've talked about it, and we've seen numerous El Nino briefs. So anyways, long-winded tirade, the biggest thing I want to emphasize to folks is why this is happening. I don't want to just mention that it's happening. I want to mention why it's happening and explore all of the possibilities and try to keep the science as, simply digestible as possible. Let's see. I've been seeing the chat popping off, and forgive me, I missed it. Let's see. There have been a lot of weather people talking about this, and it's so far ahead. There's so much agreement. It worries me. There will be something for sure heading to Florida, I'm guessing. You're saying that there's been a lot of people talking about it, Boston, or not a whole lot of people talking about it? Because within the last 24, 48 hours is when I'm finally starting to see maybe a couple of more channels talking about it. We're still not giving it the emphasis that it needs, I feel. And I think the main reason a lot of people don't want to talk about it is because, number one, they're very wishy-washy on what's even happening. Number two, they don't know and they don't want to make a judgment call as to whether or not it is going to be Tropical Storm Sean or whoever else is next up on the list. I forget the name. And at the same time, the models are so back and forth on if it's going to consolidate or be anything significant. Whoa. That I feel like they really don't want to talk about it because it doesn't look like much. It doesn't look like much, and that's an injustice, I think. Let's see. Is a fast mover or stalling possible? Fast mover, for sure. Fast mover. It'll kind of dilly-dally once it's in the Bay of Campeche, but then once that trough that's coming across the southwest can make its way through, it's going to scoot on up and out of there quick. So that's another thing that's going against it and what's also going against us. Because if it does pick up some speed and it does kind of do what some of the European ensembles and the Korean model are predicting and come down to a tropical storm, very, very low-end hurricane, we're going to see 60 to 80 mile-an-hour winds along the west coast and then 60, 80 mile-an-hour winds along the east coast. So it's a give and take with these things. It's a very give and take, and it comes down to simple geometry almost and simple math. Like, what's the perimeter of the land? What's the surface area of the land it's going to encounter? What's the angle of attack that the storm's going to turn or take, I should say? Has that upper low moved any more east yet? The one that's over the southeast, it's trying to. It's getting ready to very soon. It's right in through here, and I can switch over to water vapor really fast. I know we're hung up on this. Water vapor does an excellent job of highlighting it. There it is right there. You can see, if you guys remember that old saying, divergence aloft ahead of a trough. There's our little weak breakaway trough that we've been discussing the last couple of days, and then there's all the diffluence or the divergence associated with it. And as this breaks off and moves further to the east, that's exactly why we're going to see Philippe do something like this, because then you see this massive trough right up there supporting the mature wave over Hudson Bay, just exiting Ontario, and then we have another potent frontal system coming down. I think this is it. This is the one that's going to potentially spin something up. And you could see how excited the energy is with it. You can see it rushing over the apex of a ridge in British Columbia. I wish I could zoom in for you guys. Let me see if I can change the AOI on here. Here we go. No, we'll use a continental sector, and we'll do this. This will be a little bit easier to see. So, yeah, there's our upper low that's been dragging all that dry, smoky air off to the south. And the reason it's so dense over Florida is because it's wrapped up in that vortex. I've been seeing a lot of folks mentioning, why is the smoke so bad over Florida? Is it really from Canada? And it is, because we have that breakaway cold pocket that I mentioned a few videos ago down over the southeast. And because, like you'd mentioned in the chat, it's only stationary right now, it's just wrapping up and holding on to all that smoke and those pollutants. But here's our next system right here. You can see the jet energy just off the screen. There's our channel darkening dry air on the upper poleward side of it. So this is it. This is the one that's supposed to make its way all the way across the front range of the Rockies, through the Great Plains, down into the southern United States, and eventually into the Gulf of Mexico. So time will tell. This is it. We're going to start seeing it come down, and we're going to be able to watch some things happen real time. But anyways, as this guy begins to eject off to the east, like so, and Philippe decides to intercept like this, like a storm chaser of his own, what's going to happen is this cyclonic curvature is going to suck Philippe in and help to boomerang him back towards the northeast coastline before he gets wrapped up in all of this potent energy up and through here. That's when we can say goodbye to Philippe once and for all. I've also seen a couple of things on YouTube as well that folks are mentioning that, or they're talking about why Philippe is doing what he's doing, and they're missing the mark entirely. There's only been, I think, 1 or 2 channels I've watched that have mentioned why Philippe has made this sudden shift to the west, and they've actually highlighted it really well, and they've discussed it really well, and they've identified the steering trends and the patterns, and I appreciate that. But there's other folks who are just saying, it's shifted, guys, and it's coming in, and it's like, well, tell us why, because if not, you're not going to have a pot to piss in, if you know what I mean. All right, before we go any further into the stream, we're 25 minutes in. Let's go to some probabilities. We'll get into this stuff in a little bit. I want to show you the probabilities because those are the ones that stand out to me the most. We're going to start with tropical depression on the Euro at 12Z. So over the last few days, as a matter of fact, look at that. I didn't even realize that. I completely glazed over that. There's our probability of tropical depression formation as that little wave moves its way through the Windward Islands. So that's definitely increased over the last couple of days. No one do anything in the chat, please. And I'm just going to say that. I'm just going to put that out there. But anyways, you see that kind of fizzle out as it gets into Central Caribbean, and then it kind of does its own thing. Some of the ensemble products want to take it off to the north and escape like this. That's definitely not the color I wanted. Others want to take it in like this. So this will be interesting to see if we get a little bit more of a trend in development for that guy, because I know last night at 0Z there were a lot of them highlighting it all of a sudden. It was very interesting. But this is what I'm looking at. These have been slowly trending more and more over the last 3 days now. And on this 12Z iteration, we've seen the highest probable chances now. Look at that. We have some areas identified all the way. Actually, I didn't even notice when I made my video earlier. It might be hard for you guys to see. Let me see if I can get a closer look. They kind of wash in together, but let's go forward 216. There we go. So it might be a little difficult for you guys to see, but right through there, there's actually all the way up to 65 to 70% chance now of tropical depression formation. I will openly admit I didn't catch that earlier. I guess my attention to detail kind of fell down a little bit with as tired as I am. I'll go back to the chat real quick. Is there a chance this stalls out at all? Not really, no. Boston, I've seen that as well. Yep, I watch and track everything. After weeks out is too consistent. Yep, I agree. Nice, I'm from Yabucoa, habla español. I'm sorry, dude. I need to practice my Spanish. I'm struggling with it. I haven't had a chance to practice it in a long time. A lot of my Puerto Rican relatives have gone either back to Puerto Rico or they're no longer with us, sadly. And when I was during my time in the Air Force, I got completely whitewashed. Yep, I watch it all, bro. All your forecasts. Boston, thank you. I love that energy. I love you guys for that. Exceptional drought in Florida, need rain. Yes, I noticed. I'm looking at the drought charts, and it's really bad from right in through here all the way through the western tip of the Florida Peninsula. Like all this shaded area that I'm drawing with my pen right now, even though I missed most of the land, this is where the drought is extremely severe. So it could be a good thing for some areas really badly afflicted by the drought. Whatever kind of moisture works its way out of the Gulf, it looks like relief is on the horizon. There's that much that's guaranteed at this point. Whatever energy gets swooped up in this general direction, it's going to help. It's definitely not going to miss you guys this time, that's for sure. Weatherman Plus is finally back on it as well. I was watching his video earlier and he was talking about it, although he mentioned it weakening now. Today's video, he mentioned that the likelihood of anything happening is going down. So we're going to have to continue to watch. There's a little bit of mixed information out there, and I'm not saying he's wrong, I'm right, or I'm wrong and he's right. It's just, in terms of our oscillations in the MJO, CPC has been mentioning through their analysis that as it comes across the Pacific and parks itself over the Gulf and the Western Caribbean, it does look a lot less put together than we saw when Idalia came together. But it's not the MJO that fuels tropical cyclone development. All the MJO does is provide us with a little bit additional divergence in the upper levels. It just helps kind of get them going. So if there's something already down there, the MJO is only going to give them that much more of a little oomph. Think of it like the pre-workout to your workout. You go into a workout cold with no pre-workout, you might be a little sluggish, but you're still there, you're ready to lift weights. In this case, the MJO is like the pre-workout to your lifting session. You drink that pre-workout, you feel a little more juiced and ready to rock. That's the whole thing. So don't let it confuse you. MJO being there does not mean it's for sure going to happen. It being weaker doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It's a lot of fine-tuning. There's so much that goes into this. Will there be a storm that will hit Tampa? We'll talk about that here in a second. This is really interesting. We'll go over to the tropical storm products here in a moment. Weatherman Plus, only other one on it as long as you. Yeah, exactly. Weatherman Plus was highlighting it right around the same time I stepped in and started talking about it as well. He's very good about going long range, which I really respect about him. Sup Nazaro, you called it, Law. It's that time when other weather YouTubers start claiming they knew about this all along. Doff boy, you hit the nail on the head, buddy. You hit the nail on the head. And Gabriel, if you're still in the chat, I remember I messaged you not too long ago ranting about that. Oh, this is absurd. Why is everyone talking like they knew it was going to happen already? No one's been mentioning anything. And, it is what it is. As long as we have people talking about it, that's what it really boils down to. And the November storm, yes, he's also highlighting the November storm as well. That's one interesting piece of the puzzle that we're not going to talk too much about. We're going to just wait and see on that. It's only October 4th. Time has been flying, so we'll hold off. Let's get through the spooky season, and let's enjoy Halloween for what it is. What the heck? I swear, guys, totally off topic, but these masks have a mind of their own. I did not touch that. Ever since I made that video a few days ago introducing October, I did not touch that mask. The other day I was working at my desk over here. You can't see it. And this one was staring right at me. That one was staring right at me, and now that one's doing the same thing. This is getting a little, you know what? If Michael Myers is here, at least that's something we can hype up. The spaghetti models keep increasing for Florida past 5 days or so. Yep. Let's go ahead and switch over to tropical storms so then we can get into spaghetti plots. So this is also interesting. You go forward in time to 5 days out, give or take. This is 12th of October going into the 13th, Friday the 13th. And you can see that even after that point, the Euro wants to increase probability even after that weekend. Now we have, I think it's 0Z. It was a little bit less than that. Let's see. Yeah, 0Z, we had maybe some faint whispers of it, and then a small pocket in the Bay of Campeche, and then it kind of dissipates. So 12Z, it's gone up a little bit more. You can see as early as the 11th into the 12th, and then finally Friday the 13th, you can see a widespread area of tropical storm probabilities moving across like this. What is going on with that? I swear I'm not on drugs or anything like that, guys. There we go. I can draw a straight line. And this is somewhere in the ballpark of between 20 and 30%. So 20-30% on the Euro is actually a lot higher than it sounds, because it usually takes quite a bit for the Euro to start highlighting stuff like this, especially this far out. And then since we have that threshold all the way up to the 70 percentile now in the tropical depression favorability, that's very interesting. That means we're 3/4 of the way already to 100%. That's some pretty good confidence by the Euro. Now we'll go ahead and move over to our spaghetti plots. Let's go back. Let me go to EP Cyclones one more time. We got to change the AOI, that's why. Go to Tropical Atlantic and switch to cyclone locations. Actually, you know what? We're going to do something a little different. We're going to use active cyclones. Active cyclones is really good so we can get an idea of intensity. And as you go through time and look out over the Gulf, you see quite a bit of agreement that something's going to pop up. But if you notice, a lot of them are in the low 990s, mid 990 range. So, yeah, we're seeing really good agreement that something's going to move through there. And a hell of a lot of ensembles indicating that some low pressure is going to form. It's just a lot of the members drop off thinking that it's not going to get out of there. So there's our intensity. We'll go back to the cyclone location so we can see them stick, and you can see just how much model agreement we have going right across Florida, like right across. Last night we had few trying to diverge to the north, but now the funnel is like right there, right through there. That's our little channel of agreement. So yeah, that's interesting. Instead of losing ensemble agreement, what they happened was they kind of concentrated a little bit. So yeah, you can see that whatever comes out of there is just going to shoot east, shoot straight east. Boston, I see I've been on. Well, I missed it. Whoa, where did I speak with Weatherman often, but he only guessed based on. I just lost my chat. Where did it go? I'm like way out of the loop now. Think about that too. Let me catch up. We have this time of dry air. We should be good for it. Orlando, Florida. Nilda, welcome in. Thank you. Welcome from Orlando, Florida. Neighbors, about an hour away from you. Boston, I've been thinking about that too. Bad smoke here. Thought it was fog. I forgot it is smoke. It might have settled in overnight when the inversion set up and capped all that air down to the low levels. I have pictures of the sun looking, I'm assuming pink, not punk, because of the smoke. I've been coughing because of it, like a temperature inversion. Yeah, exactly. I coughed and had a headache. Unfortunately, a hairball. Smoke was bad yesterday in South Florida. Yep, it's because of that low. Freeze warnings right now for that whole area and even south. Ground is dry where I am in Florida. Only one with big rainstorm is the last month. Fires are a big problem for next week. Super dry and higher winds with low humidity. Yeah, it's been very windy and dry around here as well. We've finally started to see the rain starting to taper off, and that dry air is really settling in. That's new. Oh, Lord. Oh, no, Ian path. Don't do it. Don't worry too much. It's not going to... No, we're not going to see Ian. Somebody messaged me about that earlier, and like I just mentioned, looking at our active cyclones, a lot of them want to keep it as, the level of intensity we'd see in a mid to high-grade tropical storm, so nothing crazy. Still really bad. I work on Sanibel every day. Just keep it away from there. Oh, my. Go there, too. Was there day before Ian. Does Alabama need to watch this? Yes, Gregory, I would definitely watch, because you can see that there are some ensemble members that want to diverge and bring it in towards the Alabama area. There have been some deterministic model runs of the Canadian and the GFS that want to bring it in right into the Gulf Coast as opposed to swinging it a little bit further to the east. So that's why my initial prognosis right now, even though we don't have anything highlighted by NHC, is everybody from around this general area where I'm shading yellow just needs to kind of, keep at least one eye open. I'm not calling anything guaranteed. There's going to be definitely bad weather with it, but nothing's for certain just yet. Otherwise, we would probably have seen a yellow blob alongside that 8 p.m. blob out there in the Atlantic. And see, what's interesting is I guess National Hurricane Center ain't really thinking too much is going to happen in the Gulf, because even though we have greater ensemble agreement out there in the Bay, we have less ensemble agreement out in the main development region, and they're highlighting that area for development. I mean, look at those Euro ensembles. Look at the night and day difference, guys. That's why sometimes it frustrates me what National Hurricane Center does, because they're highlighting this for development, whereas look at this conglomeration of spaghetti we have out there in the Gulf. I think that's, I don't know, maybe, if something changes over the next few days, we'll get something out of that. To be determined. Let's see. I speak with Weatherman often, but he can only guess based on these bad models. You explain and follow facts and data with what is going on and come up with opinions based on the situation at hand. Yes, that's exactly what it is. And that's how you forecast. Like anybody can come on here and read models. Everything, I've said it before, everything that I'm looking at, guys, I could send you the links in the chat and we can end the live stream and you can look at it for yourself. Where we come in and where our expertise really shines is when we can look at all these fancy colors, the Italian food spread out across this chart, you see what I did there, and decipher it and kind of encode it. Change it from what it looks like and, kind of be a cartographer for it and translate it to you guys and see what the whole big picture is really trying to say. Tampa's time coming, but this won't be nothing like a Dahlia. Tampa, you good? I agree. Yeah, I don't want to know. November B-Day storm, we'll see, to be determined. I mean, max velocity has also been on it. I agree. The cat, she's here. She's right down here. Mama's... She's asleep. The masks move like the GFS. Yeah, they do. Maybe the GFS is inside my Halloween Ends mask. Bro getting ghost activity. Do you follow the Weather Nerd spaghetti models, and what is the difference between the two long-range spaghetti? So I've been seeing some people using the Weather Nerds ensembles, and they're the exact same thing. The only thing is, which is why they're very deceptive, is if I switch over to Weather Nerds, because I have their website favorited, it's right here. If we switch over to Weather Nerds and go to their tropical cyclone guidance, because they only go out so far, 240 hours, look at the difference. So now, we're starting to see some stuff out there, but let's say, for instance, I go back to 0Z. You see the difference? Because it doesn't go out as far, it looks like there's maybe some marginal agreement out there, nothing worth highlighting, a couple of members here. But then you come back here and you see how on this model view where they go out so far, you can see all the long-range agreement, which I agree with a lot more. I would rather use a long-range ensemble than a mid-range ensemble, because ensembles are meant to be used long-range, beyond that 5 to 7 day threshold. That's why we want to rely on ensemble products more than operational models when we're forecasting for something way out in the, into La La Land. Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees are sharing October this year. They are, and it's going to be good. I wish they'd make a Michael versus Jason movie already, and if honestly, they're missing an opportunity to do that with this month, because it would have been a perfect time. Release it on Friday the 13th in October. It would have been trademark, iconic. Euro on storm equals get ready. Yeah, I mean, what is the timeliness for it to reach the Gulf? So there have been a bit of breaks in continuity in terms of timing. Initially, Canadian model was thinking the 6th through the 8th. Now it seems the general time frame is we could see development between the 9th to the 11th. 9th to the 11th, and the Euro thinks we could even see development just beyond that. We could see something form as late as Friday the 13th as opposed to make impact on Friday the 13th. When is the Friday the 13th or so? Bruh, it's raining again here in Palm Bay. We don't need any more rain. The rain, I lost the thing again. Tropical tidbits. The spaghetti models on weather nodes show different paths on 240 to 300 plus. Tropical season is over. I mean, you know, kind of. PM, kind of. It's over in terms of we're going to have like 5 to 7 systems out there, but we're still going to have stuff in the tropics. Like, it's definitely still going on. Dies out, gets very weak, then it hits the week by the time it hits Florida. Yeah, there's been indications of that as well, Johnny Weld. Okay, so different ensembles and long range is better to watch. Thank you, makes sense. Yeah. Oh, man, I'm late, but I made it. There you are, Carmen. I was wondering when you were going to pop in there. I got my water bottle on deck for you, full of water. Making sure my hydration's on point as long as I don't kill myself trying to do it in the process. But yeah, so that's the big thing. Oh boy, now I'm going to have that stuck in my throat for the rest of the chat. Let's go over to GFS ensembles. Let me bring my voice down a little bit. We'll go over to the GFS ensembles and see what those are showing. Because I know that we'll go to the Tropical Atlantic far view. Oh, this is interesting. Usually this doesn't populate when they're not all the way in. Wow, look at that. Let's go to 12Z, though. So 18Z is coming in. We'll go to 12Z, let that buffer. I don't know why it's doing that. It was doing this earlier, too. It won't let me go all the way through the slider. It only populates the last couple of panels. I don't know why it's doing that. But you can see that GFS has kind of dropped its agreement out there in the Gulf and increased its agreement in the Caribbean. And we have a lot of agreement for something out there in the MDR, but once again, fish storm. Once again, looking like a fish storm. I'm still monitoring because there were some trends that want to take it closer to Lesser Antilles, not strengthen it as much as, you know, the GFS wants to do, like it always does. So I'm watching for the Lesser Antilles, mainly just because they were affected by Philippe. Cold front hits it, brings it across. Yes, exactly. The Euro wants to put a big rain dumper for next Thursday and Friday. Tropics not over yet. Water is too warm. I agree. Tidbits. GFS shows different. GFS, here we go. So, I mean, the GFS on Tropical Tidbits shouldn't show anything different. It's the same exact model, just on a different type of chart. So, we have all the 18Z run in. I haven't looked at this yet. I don't like looking at 6 and 18Z of the GFS. It does some very funky stuff, but we'll go through it anyways, see what it's depicting. There's our low. Doesn't get going on the GFS. Comes through as a very ridiculous rainmaker, though. That could be some strong storms for Florida. And then we get something else out there trying to pull across the Caribbean and out to sea. And then something else wants to try to pop up behind it. So I don't really trust GFS. I don't know. GFS is still just doing what GFS always does. The Canadian ensembles I haven't looked at yet today either. I'll admit it's been such a busy day. Typically by now I've fixated on them. Let's see what 12Z shows. So 12Z Canadian ensembles definitely shows our system moving across Central America. And what's also very interesting with the Canadian models that it looks like, just like the GFS, it's shifted its attention back to the Western Caribbean. We're not seeing a whole lot of agreement here. We're seeing it down here. And if it does, I'm going to caveat that by saying if it does go and do something in the Caribbean as opposed to the Gulf, that changes things dramatically. That's going to change everything about this storm. And I'll explain why in a second. So yeah, we get a lot of ensemble agreement that lowering pressure out in the Caribbean pushes up towards Florida. Nothing concentrated though, and then we get another round, which is something that's been instigating for a while now, up towards the state of Florida. We'll have to watch that. Nothing is highlighting that long range, but this has also been trending. Another round of increased activity moving into southern central Florida. And then it wants to bring something else in there. And what's crazy is the Canadian model just has it out for Florida. Like it's October. I feel like, to not keep bringing it up, I feel like Michael Myers is at the helm with this one, because you have this one moving into Florida, then you have that thing moving into Florida, and then you have that thing moving into Florida. It's like we have somebody at the helm of the Canadian ensembles like, hey, just throw everything you got at Florida, blast them. Majority of Florida is very dry. Need El Nino. Looks like it will finally rain. Also very cold weather and snow for the north next week. Yes, very cold. I will say, though, majority of Florida is not as dry as you would think. The western portion of it is, yes. Looking at the jart trouts. Oh, God. Looking at the drought charts, it's mainly the western periphery of the peninsula up into the panhandle that's very dry. Central, north, and east Florida have been seeing a lot of rain over the last few days. A lot of it. It's the best of the best, Euro and GFS. GFS, I mean, Euro has been doing okay. Euro is definitely handling what's out there better than most of the models right now. Korean model's doing very good as well. What are the ensembles showing today with the controlled member? For the Euro, we can go and look at that here in a second. More time to form in the Caribbean. Yes, Boston, I'm glad you're picking up what I'm putting down. If we do see a scenario where our models decide to trend it down here, and whatever decides to form in the East Pac moves up this way, that'll definitely spell a little bit more trouble for us down the road, because we have all that shear moving across the Gulf thanks to that frontal system. So anything that gets going here is going to move fast. It's not going to have a whole lot of time to develop. It's going to be weak. But down here we have all that anticyclonic turning in the Caribbean. So if anything gets going with that OHE, hot surface water, that anticyclone, the gyre, it's a night and day difference. If we have something pop off up in here, we're looking okay. Could still be some marginal impacts. If we have something pop off down in here, that's not looking too good. That definitely spells trouble for us on the horizon. So we'll have to see. The Canadian deterministic model is still indicating we'll have something weak wander across the Central American landmass and show itself towards the back end of the run. So here we go. There it is. And see, it's showing Lydia. It's showing Lydia coming across Mexico and into the Gulf as our system. It doesn't want to bring that other entity in, and it wants to wash it out completely. So while we're here, let's go over to the hurricane models. Let's see what they're thinking. Let's go to HAF's parent with Lydia, and let's see what they're thinking. This is 18Z data. Let's look at what they're thinking. So yeah, see, so the HAF's model doesn't think it's going to do what the Canadian model does. This one wants to put it up into the desert southwest. Let's see what the H-Wharf thinks it's going to do. So H-Wharf doesn't have it doing anything. H-Wharf has to go and wait out there to see. H-Wharf does have something popping in the Gulf, though. You can miss it if you blink, but at the very back end of the run, you can see those winds picking up in the Bay of Campeche, so the H-Wharf is onto something there. Let's go to HAF's B for Lydia, and let's see what the HAF's B wants it to do. HAF's B has it going up towards Baja, so yeah. I think the Canadian model may actually be out to lunch in this case, because it's not, I don't know if that's what we're going to see happen. Let's go to the CONUS view of the Canadian model. Go to Precip. And down over the south there, you can see Lydia lift up into frame and then get pulled across Mexico into the Gulf. And this is where I thought it would be more frontal, but this is still a tropical system right here, guys. Don't get it confused. That's still tropical because all of our jet energy, you can see, is up here. All of our jet energy is still to the north. So that's going to be a tropical system, albeit very ragged because it's coming across Central America. So that's something that really threw me off, and I put in my video earlier today, is this signature looks very frontal, in my opinion. It looks like there's a low, we have a warm front, and then a cold front somewhere back in through here, but that's tropical. If I switch over at the same time, same panel, to 250 millibar winds, there you go. It's right underneath an anti-cyclone out there over the Gulf and the Caribbean, especially parked over Cuba. Here's our main branch of the polar front jet and all that shared energy over the mid-Atlantic states. So that's not... It's equator word of the jet. That's not frontal at all. That's still a tropical system. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see which system decides to push its way over Mexico. We will get almost no warning. That's why I watch you and Weatherman. You give us time to prepare. The big guys don't. That's exactly what I read in Hurricane Carl's discussion, as well as Tropical Storm Cristobal's discussion. While I've been researching what's happened down there, is especially for Tropical Storm Cristobal, there was almost no warning when it decided to make its way out of the Bay of Campeche to the north. So that's another little area of concern depending on what happens over time. Water temp is dropping, so good. Thank you, Florida. Slowly. We mentioned that a little bit ago. On some of our sea surface charts, we're seeing a little bit of a decrease right in through there, but it's not like it's below what we need to support strengthening of a tropical system. So where are our water temps at to normal right now? Let's go over and see. Let's see if we have an updated little surface analysis here. We'll go to sea surface temperatures. We'll go to the North Atlantic. And there you go. I mean, we're still pretty hot. We're seeing a little bit of modification right along the coastline, but we're still at 28 degrees Charlie. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's 84, 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So still well in the range to strengthen up a tropical system. And this is why I was mentioning earlier, if we get something down there in the Caribbean instead of the Gulf, I mean, regardless, look at where that is in the Gulf. Like, both those areas are just hot. They're hot. So that's, both areas are looking good. Both areas are looking solid. It's just going to kind of matter the length of time it's over water. If it's a little further south, it won't move as fast. It'll still get picked up. It won't be like Idalia where it stays parked down there for so long. New Orleans needs a storm. It has rained for 3 months. Any rain will result in major flooding. I agree. The water 84 to 86 if windy, correct. Yes, that's way too warm if the system comes from the south or anything from the Atlantic. I agree. Water temps are still in the mid to upper 80s. Has not been cooling, maybe marginally because nights are longer. Yeah, no, we've only seen cooling right in through there. It's very hard to pick up. I wonder if I can zoom in a little bit. I can't. Let me see if I can increase our percentage here. There we go. So right in through there, I'll use my black pen to highlight it so you guys can see it. Or actually, I'll use my white pen. There we go. I'll use white. Right in through here, right along the coast where we had our front come through, there has been a little bit of a drop in temperatures. You can still see the Gulf Stream is ripe. We're starting to cool off up here. That's why Philippe only has a little opportunity to kind of strengthen before he runs into that low and all those cold temperatures. But everything in through here is still ready to rock and roll. It looks very July through September out there still. So, anything's possible. Do you think we could get something like Nicole last year? We'll see. We'll definitely see. This would be very reminiscent of Nicole, sort of. At least in terms of how she developed. Same dynamics, same environmental stimulus. Even with Idalia, there wasn't time to prepare. I knew about that storm over a week out. Yeah, not to, but it was about 10 days out before it formed that I started talking about it. I'm just kidding. I mean, it was, but I'm not going to try to act all cocky and whatnot. I apologize for that, guys. Please don't take me serious right now. Even with it, not if it went to South Florida, people thought I was crazy talking about an invest with no warning or watch them. It blew up. I knew about Hurricane Dorian in 15 days, the exact path it would take. So cool, did exact 2. Supercharged, welcome back. Will the Gulf system become a Cat 1 or a Cat 2 storm? You can argue it's not even going to make it to Cat 1 status. We have to wait and see what comes together. It's still way too far out to start talking intensity. Let's see. I'll go ahead and pull up the Korean model just for shoots and giggles so you guys can see what that's thinking. So here we are on the Korean model. We'll use our mean sea level pressure in the Gulf of Mexico. Oh, this is 18Z. We'll go to 12Z again. You go through time and you can see that development spot on. It's been calling it the last few days, and you can see it develops over there in the Bay of Campeche, works its way into the Central Gulf and deepens down into a potent tropical storm or some kind of elongated area of low pressure. This will definitely be a tropical system, and it comes in with a 991 millibar center of circulation right there in southwest Florida. Where the margin of error has been with the Korean model particularly has been right through here. That's kind of been the back and forth trend, putting it right through this general area. So, very good run-to-run consistency. We'll just have to see if this holds true. So, yeah. Will the Gulf system become with El Nino in full effect and warm waters with a chance of formation? Looks like we aren't done yet. May blow through the alphabet. You never know. We have that one area highlighted for development, so that's almost a it's like a 75% chance we're going to get a named storm out of there. Some of the models call for it. The ensemble thinks it'll form up and then fizzle, but we could see a named storm. What website is this? How close are we? This is weathermodels.com. I really like using this website. Weathermodels.com. So yeah, guys, over Pine Island, yeah, that's one thing I noticed earlier, Carmen, is that it's very, very reminiscent of what we saw with a few of the storms that I will not name in this live stream. Oh, there you go. the UK model starting to show some lowering pressure down there now. We're finally far enough out into the future, because this is a mid-range model. It goes out 168 hours. This is the 11th of October, and we're starting to see something try to take shape on the UK model as well. So that's an interesting piece to note. Let's go back to our 18Z GFS ensembles, and then we'll get ready to start wrapping up our live stream. We blew through this one tonight, guys. We've been talking. We've definitely been talking. Let's go Caribbean. Here's 18 Zulu. 18 Zulu GFS is all the way in. So let's see what we got. There's our Caribbean storm, just like I mentioned earlier, swinging it out. GFS ensembles still indicating some pretty decent agreement for something forming in the Gulf. Really good agreement that something's going to form out there in the Atlantic. And then towards the back end of the GFS run, kind of like the Canadian model, it's also picking up on maybe another round of possible development right in through there. If you watch closely, at the very end of the 18Z, right there, you see more ensembles taking it right up towards Florida. So we'll see. 991 keeps dropping. I'm going to guess it could be a 1, 2, or 3, maybe a tropical storm. Water's still 89 degrees. That is what I go by. Yeah, I agree, Kevin. It's still hot out there. I mean, regardless of the numbers, we're still well in the realm to get a good system out there developing and deepening down. So that's just about all I got, though, guys. We haven't had... Yesterday and today's Weather Center segment were not very in-depth because we haven't had too much in the way of very groundbreaking changes. The biggest takeaways are I'm watching what's happening in the Pacific. I'm watching what's happening real-time out across the Pacific in terms of our long-wave trough. Let me go out there, as a matter of fact, right now. We'll go to the full disk, like so. And can't really see much out there just yet. This visual representation shows a really good anticyclone out there, though. You can see that gyre really starting to take effect. Look at all that anticyclonic spin. But somewhere in this general area is where we're going to have our trough work its way to the east and then deepen down and try to pick these systems up. So it's anybody's best guess now when that starts to take shape. It looks like there's a little bit of kinking in the air trying to happen there. There's definitely troughing here. One of these two features is what's going to pick one of these cyclones up, or both of them, and turn them back into Mexico, like so. Now it's just a matter of which one. So I still think we're going to see a lot of adjustments in some of our main model runs, like the GFS, maybe even the Euro. The Canadian model is going to change up. The Icon, I haven't looked at the Icon too much. Let's go over to the Icon real quick. Forgive me for kind of ignoring it. And then we'll go ahead and wrap the stream. We'll go to the Caribbean. We'll go Icon. We'll do 10-meter wind just to see what's out there floating around in the pattern. This is 18Z. Icon has that little disturbance coming through. Doesn't really get its act together, though, and the Icon doesn't have anything. I mean, it has a little bit of a closed low out there, but our Tehuantepec winds are blowing, so that means the front is all the way down into the Pacific at this point. Let's go to the 12Z so we can get a little bit more of a long-range look at it. Yes, I mean, the Icon does form something up, but it wants to start tracking it north before maybe pulling it off to the east, so that's interesting to see. And then we get another round of development down there in the East Pack, according to the Icon. That's the Icon model. So yeah, guys, do you think there will be a Cat 3 through Cat 5 that will hit Florida in this hurricane season? Well, we already had a Cat 4, Cat 3. I'm trying to remember. I think it was a Cat 3. Adalia was a Cat 4 for a brief instance, and I think she weakened down to a Cat 3 before making landfall. So we technically already had a major hurricane landfall this year. That's why I started talking about this to begin with. Fort Myers ready, almost not Fort Myers Beach. Dahlia flooded Fort Myers Beach when it passed again. I was there. As long as the Western Panhandle gets some rain, I agree. That's for sure. Quickly ran out to Wawa for free drinks. Gotta love those rewards. What did I miss in the last 20 minutes? Elite Chief Stark, welcome back. You didn't really miss much, dude. Honestly, I mean, we're still in a holding pattern. We're just watching trends at this point. National Hurricane Center highlighted a feature out in the Atlantic that I know is going to steal the show. Everyone's going to talk about it. Everyone's going to hype it up. But I don't know if there's a whole cause for alarm of that bad boy. I'm watching more so. If there's anybody I'm watching out for when we have Atlantic development right now is our Lesser Antilles, because they were inundated and ripped apart by wow, I'm like messing. I was going to say Franklin, Dahlia, by Philippe's rains. And then they just had storms training over top of them. So that's the main reason I'm watching out for them, is because they're already dealing with bad weather. They're already dealing with effects, and any little bit of energy that works its way through there is only going to exacerbate the problem. There are other factors in the environments, plus there's shear. I agree. That's 100% for sure. October could be one of the rainiest months for Jamaica and the Caribbean. Yes, definitely, 100%. There's a lot of moisture out there, and it's only going to continue to get more favorable. It was a Cat 4, okay. I thought it was a Cat 3 when it made landfall, though, but, never know. Cuba, 1932 November, Cat 5. Wow, I gotta look that up. The water is warm enough, yes. I don't think there's gonna be a Cat 5, though. There's no way we're gonna, well, actually, I lied. Let me rephrase that. Wow, I almost shot myself in the foot there, because Wilma still holds the record for the absolute strongest Category 5 out there in the Caribbean in the middle of October, so let me just shut up while I'm ahead. Elite hyping. Oh, yeah. Carmen, I'm going to guarantee, guys, and we can roll the cards, roll the dice right now, that come tomorrow, everyone's going to be making their videos, everyone's going to be posting on social media, NHC highlighting a hurricane, blah, blah, blah. So, we'll see. I heard there's a tornado warning somewhere in Florida. Any comments? Anto, you're... There's definitely a tornado warning, that's for sure. Guys, don't take that serious. It's an inside joke. It's possible for a Cat 2 out of this one. It depends on where it forms. Are you going to make videos about winter? VRP weather? Absolutely. I definitely want to start slowly transitioning to wintertime once I see the tropics calming down. Right now, we are seeing some pretty significant weather over the United States. I'm not discounting it or discrediting it. There's definitely some potent activity with each of these new frontal systems that comes through. The reason I haven't switched gears just yet is because there's enough going on in the tropics that pertains to what's happening in the weather department to still, kind of go over some things. Are you, which is not what we have right now. Yeah, Dahlia was supposed to be 991 so I remember tracking. The shear can go away. It can. What's the moon phase looking like next week? I don't think there should be a king tide. No, there shouldn't be. Didn't you know it's hype and hump day? Just kidding around. Now, Carmen, we got to keep that to Friday. We can't hype up just yet. Florida is safe. Nothing to worry about there. Yeah, Hello, do you think there will be a specific landfall like the Panhandle? We're still too far out to start talking Panhandle. We're still waiting to see if we get some development out there. I'm watching all the different pieces of the puzzle out there in the Pacific and over the United States, because there's multiple mechanisms that are going to steer and develop or kill this storm before it could do anything. Hype and Hump Day. Yep, that's going to catch momentum, guys. I'm already ready for Hype Friday. I know by then we'll have some juicy details. Maybe you never know, Doff Boy. Maybe we can actually have a real Hype Friday tonight. I'm ready for Hype Friday, too. Cheers. Yep, I'm going to make sure to have a brew in hand so we can really hype up on Friday, hype the weekend, hype whatever's happening out there, because we'll start to see some stuff maybe taking shape. We'll see. No Cat 5 now. All depressions very, very weak now. I mean, we'll see. We'll definitely see. We're not in the stage where we think about landfalls. We're in a stage waiting for development, trying to figure out where it will go. Yes, exactly. Super Charas, 100% agree. I don't believe we won't see another major until November over. Philippe is forecasted to be longest-lasting tropical system of the year. Yeah, I believe it. The models are barely calling for a tropical storm, let alone a freaking cat. Yeah, that's a little hypey right there. But all right, guys, it's 9:03. We're gonna start getting ready to cut out. There we go. Yep, instead of Friday night lives, then for Friday night hype. I got to make a trailer for these live streams. Like on Monday, it's going to be like, a general overview. Welcome back. Very casual. Wednesday, it's hump day, my dudes. And then Friday night hype, we're doing all kinds of different weird things, just to get people roped in. So yeah, nothing beats Gert Pretty sure that one lasted a month and came back alive twice or something. Yeah, poor Gert. Gert was doing its best out there. Guys, wait for me. Gert formed right here, did a little woo, and then fizzled out. And then it did another little fizzled out. And then it finally made its way up there, joined that Labor Day barbecue with Franklin, Adalia, and Jose, and then just randomly was like, I'm back, guys. What did I miss? It pulled a... Who was it that went to Wawa? Let me go back up in the chat. I forgot already, and I apologize. Let's see. I want to say it was, I want to say it was Elite Chief Stark. It pulled an Elite Chief Stark. I did a Wawa run, guys. What'd I miss? I was gone for about 2-3 weeks, floating around in the Atlantic doing nothing. No live tomorrow, guys. So as we wrap up, we're not going to do a live tomorrow. I mean, unless something big changes, something huge changes, which I don't anticipate happening, that's the only time we'll break in. If National Hurricane Center highlights something that still doesn't warrant breaking in, because, I mean, we kind of saw it coming. No new news there. So, yeah. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Saturday, unless a Sunday, requires the push of a Weather Center episode. Monday through Saturday around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you'll get a new segment of Weather Center Nazario. Thanks for the great analysis, Nazario. Not fixing the rest of the yard until end of season. I don't blame you, Kevin. I don't blame you. Regardless of what takes shape out there, it looks fairly promising. We're going to see some weather from it, so we'll definitely have to see what happens. Yeah, so sorry I'm late, Nazario. That's okay, Alex Baller. We're getting ready to wrap up. I'm so sorry. It's after 9. Tonight flew by, guys. Today flew by. Time has just been flying by. We'll go ahead and start calling the stream there before Michael Myers turns his attention back this way. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens right over here, because I'm starting to get a little sketched out at the fact that these things keep following me around the room, and I promise no one's touching them. I'm not touching them. So we'll see. That's another thing too, guys. Totally off topic from the weather, but as we go through the month of October, there's going to be a little more in the way of Easter eggs. And I know some people out there are probably going to get a little frustrated. It should be serious, professional content, but it's October. It's fun, guys. It's October. It's Halloween. Everyone's entitled to one good scare for my Halloween fans out there. And then once we roll into Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, it's going to be the same thing. We'll do something fun for Thanksgiving. We'll do something fun for Christmas. Depending on where my subscriber base is for New Year's, and depending on what my plans are for New Year's, it's still to be determined. That's, talk about hyping up. That's way out there. We'll see what happens. Maybe we can do like a little pre-New Year's celebration live stream on here or something like that, just to kind of get everyone in here, say hello for 10, 15 minutes, and then cut out and enjoy the rest of the evening. I want to do things like that just to, enjoy the holiday season, enjoy the end of hurricane season, shift gears on the channel, and see what the future has in store for us for winter time and 2024, Lord willing, we're all still around. But yeah, guys, apologies to the folks just joining in. We are getting ready to wrap up. It's over an hour into the stream now, so we'll see you again on Friday, Hype Night Friday. Philippe looks quite Frankensteinish, appropriate for October. Yeah, looking very almost Nicole out there right now, more or less. Only you stay put in what happens in the tropics, and no other meteorologist watches what happens around the Atlantic and the Pacific. Pierre, I'm glad you recognize that. I do appreciate that, guys. And I'm going to definitely stay on top of it. I'm definitely obsessing over it, microscopically investigating every little piece of information I can. And, I think maybe that's sometimes why I get so agitated when I watch other videos, because they could be doing the same thing that I'm doing, but they're not communicating it. So on the surface, it looks like I'm putting all this brain power into it for you guys, and everyone else is just kind of like, yeah, models, see you next time. And, that's maybe why I'm getting a little flustered and tired out. We'll see. But I'm going to stay on top of it regardless. Carmen, if you're still in the chat, I'm definitely still holding on to my water. I'm going to make sure I hydrate. Let me, without nearly killing myself this time. And thank you, Nazario. I'll be waiting for Friday. I always celebrate the end of the season. I'm a bass player in orchestra and love the weather. Can't wait for my concert tomorrow. Ethan's Life. Oh, and good luck, dude. That sounds awesome. If you can, if you have Instagram or anything like that, or even on a Discord, send me some pictures or some video, buddy. I'd like to see that. It sounds like a great time. And yeah, it looks like the weather should be pretty phenomenal. Out there earlier, I was driving and it felt pretty good. Still kind of crisp, middle, moderate humidity, nothing too intense. I wasn't sweating, so that's a good thing. But yeah, guys, that's what we have in store. That's kind of the docket for the rest of the season and the rest of the year, for that matter, outside of the weather realm. I do want to start instigating some more camaraderie on the channel, do some little celebrations, do some shout-outs like we did early in the stream. And you best believe that between now and October 31st, the shape is not going to, or I should say the shape will make a return on the channel. That's for sure. The shape, Michael Myers, will definitely make a return on the channel. And for Friday the 13th, I think Mr. Voorhees might have something to say about the weather as well. So we'll see. We'll see if I can track those guys down and get them on here. But anyways, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to each and every one of you. We will see you next time on the live stream. Friday Night Hype, as Zenful eloquently put. We'll do some Friday night hyping up, bring in the weekend on a high note, see what kind of evidence we have out there to support what's coming our way, what's out in the Atlantic, what's out in the tropics in general. And tomorrow afternoon, or tomorrow evening, I should say, 6 p.m., we'll have another full segment of Weather Center Nazario, guys. It's been a joy. I wish each and every single one of you a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you so much for continuing to inspire me and motivate me to go the extra mile for everybody. I can't thank you enough. It goes without saying. It's because of you guys I do what I do. And, we all love weather. It's a great time. It's a fun time. It's very interesting, and you're always learning. You're always on a learning curve. It's going to keep our brains training and working overtime, and that's exactly how it should stay, and that's exactly how it should be. So until next time, folks, this is Weather Center Nazario, signing out.